Here I am after so many years, hounded by hatred and trapped by fear. I'm in a box. I've got no place to go. If I follow my mind, I know I'll slaughter my own. Help me, I'm a prisoner. Won't you hear my plea? I need somebody, yeah, to listen to me. I beg you, brothers and sisters, I'm counting on you, yeah.
Yeah, you come back.
Black babies in the womb.
Okay. If you want to hold, if she can come on right now.
Shackled and bound.
Hold on. That's her.
Chained by the caveman who keeps beauty down. Smacked on the ass when they're...
Peace. Welcome again to the N.E.P.P.C podcast. I'm Brother Frank, and I'm with my brother, former political prisoner, Abdul Haqq Islam, and welcome to today's show. Today's show is liberation, theology, and the political prisoners and how they relate to one another. We supposed to be getting a call from Joy Powell, so we try to see if she's on right now. Hey, brother. Hello? Hello? Oh. Hello, you on? All right. You got to, how you put the speaker? Hold on. Hello? All right. Hey, sister. I'm doing all right. Can't complain. You got to, you know how to put the speaker on? Just give us a second. We got a very important phone call from our sister, a comrade in the struggle, Joy Powell, and we want her to speak to us right now because she has a very important message, as always, especially on this topic of liberation theology. Because when you're talking about the idea.
Speaker.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, you on. Hey, sister, peace and love.
All right, peace and love as well, brother.
Yeah, so today, everything is good. Today's topic we just talking about is liberation theology and political prisoner. And we thought about this topic because of what this month is. To Christians, they're celebrating Passover. To Muslims, they're dealing with Ramadan. And we want to really focus on what does that mean regarding the political prisoner.
Christians Easter.
Oh, yeah, and you want to understand what does that mean for the political prisoner, right? Because when you're dealing with these ideas, you have to deal with the political prisoner because the political prisoner is representative of a stance against injustice. So you're a person of faith, and we like for you to speak on that right now.
All right. Well, as for me, I just want to send word to all of the ambulance chasers. When I say ambulance chasers, I'm talking about the preachers and even some of the ministers out there, things that they chasing a story in front of a camera, and but when it comes to a political prisoner, they leave us for dead, basically, and if they want to go by the Bible or even the Holy Quran or the Torah, it's all similar, which I would go from a Bible perspective that says Jesus was saying, when I was in prison, you visited me. When he was talking to the disciples, when I was hungry, you fed me. When I needed clothes, you clothed me. When I was homeless, you took me in. And when I was in prison, when I was in the hospital, you visited me. And so they said, when did I do that? He said, when you did it to the least one of mine. And we, as political prisoners, we are considered the black sheep for holding it down for our people, basically. And how could they walk off and just leave us, when we have labored for years for the independence of our people, who've been dominated, politically exploited, economically segregated, demeaned, and humiliated. We've struggled to unite to get our people free from the shackles and chains of the oppressor, as well as suppression. And here we go in 2022, still fighting voter suppression. And it's nothing greater in our people's minds than have us to move towards a higher destiny. And in order to move towards a higher destiny, a lot of these churches that are building and mosques and various other religions that are building these $1 million buildings, and standing before people in front of a camera, they need to dig deep, and get some of them lawyers out of there, big Superdome churches and mosques and things, and come and get political prisoners who have gave their lives for our people out of prison. They need to have a team of people that visit. They need to have a team of people that do food drives and make sure that a political prisoner is never hungry. That's what it's all about. It's not about religion. It's about spirituality, and as well as being down for the cause. Like, which puts me in the mind of this man. He was my mother's supervisor. His name was Reverend McCree. He was a atheist at the time, and my mother used to talk to him about the struggle. And my uncle Kamal Siddiqui, who was a Black Panther at the time on the run, and so on. And basically, he ended up giving his life to the Lord. And what he did was he bought streets full of houses, and he got a team of people, and they would go out and get people that was homeless off of the street and put them in an apartment with other people that would like counsel them, that would make sure that they ate and took care of their hygiene, addicts that were recovering. He would go get them. They would also go to the courthouses, and they had such a good rapport with the courts that they was releasing people in their custody, and basically he did so much for the community that they named a street after him. He's dead now. He died very young, but I'm saying that's what it's really about, like going to get our people. That's what we have done, political prisoners. We have lost our freedom because we fought for injustice, and we was fighting for the equality of our people, and that seems to be a lost cause in our community, and they need to wake up and smell a coffee, because basically when you're neglecting us, then you're neglecting God, and I feel like they're going to hell with gasoline draws. I mean, not to like criticize, but I'm saying, like, you can't say that you love God and you love your people that have football numbers. You know,
Exactly. I don't mean to cut you off, sister, but yeah, you're absolutely right. We have to have some self-criticism of ourselves and those who professing to be on a righteous cause.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, our forefathers' dream was getting us out of the bosom of slavery and coming off the whipping poles and lynching posts. You know, I heard a Caucasian lady this morning. She was in the kitchen, and I think she was trying to take shots at me because I was the only black person in there. Normally, I usually announce anything concerning our people, like history, but I didn't say anything about the first black female that became the justice in the highest court in the U.S. Because I didn't feel like I had to, and so she said, "Yeah." Now this lady is a straight up racist, and she said, "Yeah, nobody didn't say nothing about the first black justice, you know, in the United States. They're not talking about that." But I didn't say anything because I felt like, why should I have to make a grandiose announcement about that when, in fact, they should be embarrassed that it is the first justice in 2022 that's a black female. That is a disgrace to this American race, basically. And I wasn't, I feel like, being that our forefathers built this country, they have an obligation to us, and especially to the political prisoners. We have political prisoners that are so sick and dying. Mumia Abu-Jamal, he's been in prison so long they thought he'd be dead.
Talk about it, sister.
That's right, because that brother, he's standing on God, and that's what's holding him together. You know, because at the end of the day, we don't die, we multiply. Okay? And when they thought they was killing us, I heard a saying, when they thought they killed us, they found out that they couldn't kill us because we're feet. Okay? And so basically, Mumia, oh my goodness, like that brother has been through so much, and several other, my uncle Kamal Siddiqui could barely walk. You know, these people are, first of all, 100% like myself, actually and factually innocent. Okay? And so they say you're innocent until proven guilty, but as soon as they saw our brown, blessed complexion in that court, we automatically was guilty. Okay? Because if you have a voice in America, but you're a person of color, there's no such thing as a First Amendment right. You automatically become doomed when you get in the court. And so we need
as long as you're effective, Right, go ahead.
Pardon me?
Now I said as long as when you're effective, you you got a problem. You can say anything you want to say as long as ain't nobody listening and you ain't moving nothing. But if you're effective, then you got a problem.
Exactly. If you're effective, you got a problem. If you bought, you have a problem, because these bought house Negroes, they go fly all over the country and get in front of cameras with big stories, and they throw God out there or Allah out there. They say, we're doing this for our people in the name of Allah. Well, where are you, ambulance chaser, religious leaders? Like, because we're here. We're here, and give us free, because none are free until all are free.
Well said, sister.
Not only that, if they want to talk about scripture, the Bible says you did run well, but what hindered you that you should obey the truth? The truth isn't standing in front of a pulpit, preaching or giving speeches. That's not what the truth is about. Yeah, it's all right to have good stories and, black news or whatever, but the truth is they need to step up to the plate. That's the truth. That's what God is all about, stepping up to the plate.
Fight for justice.
Out and touch it. That's right.
Fight for justice.
Yeah, for justice.
Yeah.
And for a cause, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, even though we're in prison, we still need food. Because the food that they give political prisoners in prison is designed to kill you. Okay? I wasn't even a diabetic until I came to prison. Now, I take about 15 pills a day.
Oh, wow.
Diabetic. Yes, diabetic. I have high blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I had asthma already. And I have bad allergies that I had allergies, but I never had allergies like I do now.
Yeah.
And then I have a thyroid disease, all this stuff because of the toxic environment that I'm in, and basically the disgusting contaminated water that we drink. The food is poison, and this is then the inadequate medical care that we receive, and especially if you're a political prisoner, they'll throw you in solitary confinement and try to throw the key away. But we in New York State, Florida, got those disciplinary guidelines changed, and it was a lot of sweat, blood, and tears in solitary confinement. But at the end of the day, joy is unbreakable. And so
I like that. I like that. Yeah, I wanted to say, continue, maintain your thoughts, sister. But I wanted to say is that the political prisoner sisters like you understand, got that morale, that fighter's morale. You understand that we're gonna win. So in spite of all that you just described, you got that warrior spirit strong. And a lot of times when people visit our political prisoners, instead of raising the political prisoners' spirits, the political prisoners raise the spirits of the visitors who visit them. So you are doing that, you understand, online right now to the folks who are listening. Right on.
Right on. Yes, because without a vision, we'll perish. And no matter how or what they come with, we would not let them put the fire out.
Right on. That's right. Keep it going.
Fire. You have to keep it going.
Fire.
Yes, fire. You ever listen to that the station when I forgot his name. It's on a Breakfast Club, but at night, DJ Self, he say we winning. We winning. Well, we winning regardless of what it look like. It isn't what it look like, because I am an optimistic, and I believe that we are going to win this battle. Like, it's a revolution out here, but at the end of the day, we're going to stay in the fight. That's right.
That's right. That's our motto too. December 12th is we will win.
We will win.
And we know that in our heart and soul and feel it in our bones that we're gonna win.
That's right.
Straight ahead.
That's right.
Showing
We're
up.
gonna win, and we are not taking no for an answer. And basically, they're trying to pull wool over our eyes and even shut down. Like they got this program here, this college program, wherein the overseer of the program, she's taking people's names and writing the government now that they have approved to get funding for their program for each college student, and she's sending out fraudulent information saying that the incarcerated individual is in the college program when in all actuality they're not even going certain semesters, and it's just all a scam all the way around the board. They'll tell you can't come, but then use your name to circumvent the system and get this money. But at the end of the day, I will not allow the enemy to besmirch my integrity and cause me to fall, in this horror. It's like a horror flick show, in this prison wherein they
worse than Frankenstein, Wolfman, and Dracula all put together in Godzilla.
That's right. That's right. They say that this is the Department of Corrections, but it's really the system isn't at all flawed in their eyes, but we know that the system is made exactly how it was meant to work, to bring people back and not give them recidivism. Therefore, they really don't want to educate them because they want them to come back.
Because they know statistics show that prisoners who become educated while in prison, recidivism rate is very low. So you know how the enemy gonna deal with that, like an enemy does.
So I just before you go, I just want to say that if somebody is part of a faith, we need to hold them accountable regarding accountability. So just briefly make a closing statement on their accountability if they claim to be a part of a faith.
If you claim to be a part of a faith, especially if you are a leader, then you are held accountable to reach out and touch all political prisoners. Start visiting them, get them lawyers, raise money for political prisoners, get them food, clothing, write them. They don't want to just hear, hi, how you doing? We need help. So if you are really a God-fearing person, then allow God to use you and be that real person of God and do the right thing.
Help freedom.
Step up to the plate.
Help give them some freedom.
That's right. Give us freedom.
Give us freedom.
Free us all.
Free us all. Free them all.
Right. Secure. Goodbye.
What happened?
Gosh, you
Go ahead, man.
all right, so that was Joy Powell, a political prisoner. We had to take the time out to let her speak because of our political prisoners are priority. And this platform is dedicated exclusively to political prisoners, organizing and bringing them home. That's why we put the information about political prisoners on, and we want you to share it with at least 10 people. Everybody can do a part. We ask that you subscribe to the channel, the N.E.P.P.C channel. And today's discussion on liberation theology, liberation being a people's right to alleviate their oppressive conditions by whatever means necessary. And theology is a person's view of a supreme being, how things come into physical existence. That's particularly dealing with what people call a belief or what people call as a faith. And this month in particular is very significant and important to people of different faiths, of people of Christianity and people of Islam. And I know my brother, former political prisoner Abdul Haqq, is a devout Muslim, so he'll be speaking on Islam and how that relates to political prisoners when a Muslim is dealing with Ramadan. I had these two books that I was just going through in preparation of speaking on this idea of liberation theology, and I thought it was very important because it deals with the significance and the importance of people who claiming to be Christians regarding their relationship to social change. You're either about to change or you're not. And if you are a person of God, then you're supposed to be about change. And how can you remove yourself from political affairs and expect real change? And that was a question that was raised in the book. And he talks about Malcolm, he talks about Martin Luther King. And I thought that that was very important of this book that I'm talking about, Black Theology and Black Power. And he talked about what they did. These were people of faith, and they took a definitive position when it comes to that. And so when he's talking about Black people in particular, he's talking about them being oppressed and them fighting to liberate themselves. And those who are fighting to liberate them are those who are conscious and those who understand what it really means to be a person of faith. But I don't want to take too much of our time because I know my brother Abdul did some intense studies, so I want to respect the time that he put into his study. So, brother, the platform is yours.
Right on, brother. Right on for all the correct and encouraging words from Brother Frank and from our warrior queen, Joy Powell. Yes, religion has, there have been people who have fought a righteous struggle against oppressors, throughout history. And in terms of the political prisoners, the people they fought against, are satanic people, are devil people. You understand? I was researching something that the people straight up worship the devil, the straight up satanic people. You understand? They go by convoluted, a reverse interpretation of what the devices and the virtues are. The satanic virtues are crime, torture, pride, savagery, and these type of things. And these are the principles that these satanic people go by. And the beef they got with these folks out here in America, they call themselves all upright and righteous, the U.S. government, is that they live by the same satanic principles. So people who struggle against them are doing a righteous struggle. They're standing up against some devils. And we should really support people who put their lives on the line for us, their lives and their freedom, and sacrifice everything for us. Like Brother Jill also has said to Frank, is that the founders of all the major religions, stood up against the oppressors. Jesus stood up against the Roman Empire. He was a political person, a political prisoner. Moses stood up against an oppressive system. And Allah, liberated him from that situation. And also in Islam, the early history of Islam is Islam stood up against an oppressor. The oppressive pagan Arabs, had great big beef. Use the words of our terminology that we understand, had beef with those who practiced and preached monotheism. These was pagan Arabs, they was polytheists, and they hated the monotheism that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his followers were teaching and preaching. You understand? So they oppressed them and persecuted them for 13 years. Allah gave the Prophet Muhammad and his followers permission to fight back, and they had successful military operations against these pagans. The Battle of Badr, you understand, outnumbered 300 to 1,000. You understand? They overcame the oppressor. You understand? They pumped the Roman Empire, the most powerful military in the world at that time. They pumped them at the Tabuk expedition. You understand? Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had information that the Romans were preparing to attack the Muslims. This is that was the meaning of Quran chapter 9:29, which the enemies, the reactionaries, they like to cite that. It says to fight all non-Muslims, but that ain't what it's about. It was preparatory to fight the Roman Empire. You understand? So the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, put an army together. And made the trek. You understand? To the enemy. The enemy pumped out the most powerful army in the world at the time. Pumped. You understand? Because they knew of the fighting, the fighting prowess of the Muslims. Allah tells the Hadith says that those who engaged in this struggle against the enemy, you understand, that if they are killed, they will have 72 virgins in paradise. And this is something that the enemy, they love to talk about that. They love to criticize that. And so Ibn Abbas, who was a great scholar, said that anytime that in Islam we talk about the hereafter, by necessity, it has to be metaphorical, because there's no human language that can explain the hereafter. So these statements about the hereafter are all metaphorical, and the enemy, these reactionaries, they criticize it, but they're talking about something they have absolutely no knowledge about, because no one can know anything about the hereafter, because there's no human language that can give a true picture of the hereafter. We're just given language to get a hint of it, And this particular hadith, you understand, was part of that which gave the Muslim warriors the high morale, the will to win, the belief that nothing can stop them. You understand? And they became very, very powerful. You understand? Through this faith of the law. Let me see if this thing is still here. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Quran chapter 4, verse 135 says, "O believers, stand firm for justice as witnesses for Allah, even if it is against yourselves, your parents, or close relatives, be they rich or poor. Allah is best to ensure the interest. So do not let desires cause you to deviate from justice. If you distort the testimony or refuse to give it, then know that Allah is constantly all aware of what you do." Okay, so there was one point in there, to remind me of Ramadan when I read it. It say, do not let your desires take over. So during the fast of Ramadan, the desires, you understand, the enemy will want to use terrorism to play on our desires to save our own skin. You understand? To make us collaborators. You understand? To make us Judases. To make us traitors. You understand? To make us have a type of to go around talking about, well, all you got to do is pray. You understand? And be a Muslim. And you ain't got to engage in this social, spiritual, and political activity. But religion covers all that. The political, the way that people relate to people, you understand? The oppression, the injustice, the crimes against humanity that people commit against one another, all that comes within the realm of religion and what religion deals with, and there's been many successful campaigns against American and European colonizers. I want to go through a few of them real quick. I'm gonna give you some reference to look up. Look up in your spread, and I write this down. Dr. Rudolph Bilal Ware. This brother is a scholar, an expert in the history of Islam in Africa. Look this brother up. I'm gonna say it again. Dr. Rudolph Bilal Ware. Look his stuff up. He gives a very, very detailed history of Islam standing up against injustice in Africa. You know, some of these reactionaries, black and white reactionaries, you know, they like to erase the role of Islam in standing against oppressors, standing against slavers. You understand? They want to erase that history, you know. But indeed, there was a rich history of Africans standing against slavery. You know, the Senegal River Valley, there was a revolution against slavery that lasted 150 years, starting in the late 1700s, led by Abdul Khan. You dig? And you know, there was a very honorable, very intense, you know, a very beautiful history of Islam, you know, standing. You know, there had been an interpretation by the reactionary colonizers that said religion is to tell the slaves that you should be good slaves, you know, that you should not stand up against your slave master, you know. But you know, Islam came with the concept that oppression and slavery is a crime against humanity that we must stand and fight against, you know. So the brother that I just mentioned, Dr. Rudolph Bilal Ware, wrote a book called The Quran in Chains. And chapter 3 of that book, you know, gives a detailed history of the Islamic revolution against slavery in Africa. And there's other videos he does a longer presentation, you know. Y'all can check that. Like I said, chapter 3 of that book, you know, talks about this uprising of Muslims against slavery. Okay, something else that you can look at the movie Lion of the Desert. Lion of the Desert is the narrative about the Muslims standing up against what was that? The Italians. Yeah, that was the Italians. Okay, that was the Italians. Okay, the Italian oppressor. The Battle of Algiers is another film on YouTube that you can look up that talks about standing up against the French. The French, they were some of the worst oppressors in the world.
Yes.
You know, and one thing, a point on that, you understand, in terms of morality, is that the French feared the way the Muslim women dressed, the niqabs. The Muslim women, they feared that more than they feared the bullets the men were shooting, because they knew when they found morality in women, they found stiff resistance in men. You understand? And the women played a central role in a society overcoming its appetites, its lower beastly animal desires. You understand? The type of thing which makes it easy to oppress the people. You understand? When you got a culture, you talk about shake your behind, you know, fornicate, you know, have adultery and all this type of stuff. You have a culture like that. You got people who are weak, you understand, who do not have the strength to stand up against anything spiritual. You understand? Anything, you know what I'm saying? It takes your man, it emasculates the men. You understand? So I mean, just look at America. You know, you don't see these cats that listen to this shake your behind music. They not standing up for nothing. They ain't never stood up for nothing. You know, but people who love Allah, people who love God, you understand, throughout the centuries, you know, in every major religion, they stood up, you know, fearlessly, you know, and have conquered the enemy, you understand, and, you know, and made Allah's word trample the word of the enemy into dust.
Very important, powerful words. And I think that that's very important that we understand what you just laid out, especially if you're a person of a particular faith, and you being a devout Muslim and a former political prisoner, you understand the power of Islam. And those who are of Christian faith, you know, I think about Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. and the trials and tribulation that he had to endure, and the fact that he was able to make the impact that he was, you know, until his untimely death at the hands of an assassin, because he took a position. And as I studied and prepared for this episode, I realized that this theology, this liberation theology, needs to be the theology of anybody who professes to be a person of faith, because it addresses the social conditions and it addresses the fact that those who were taking a position at the time that these books were written, when they took a position, they were met with force, right? So regardless of how you want to label the system of corruption, the oppressor, whether you want to identify it as Satan's system or something other than that, you still have to be responsible for your reaction to it, whether you vote, whether you organize, but you have to do something, right? You have to take a position. You're either part of the solution or part of the problem. That's something that I grew up hearing, and as I become an adult, I understood that I had to really apply it to my life, being a father, being an organizer, being a participant in an organization that's struggling for human rights internationally, and we have to take position, and we can't be sidestepping. We can't be acting like that there's no position to take, because there's only one of two positions to take, either with the people or against them. And I think that this episode is very important because it gives people that time to focus on the idea of what is my position relating to what's going on currently. And in the book, in my studies, it talked about clarification, self-clarification. Be clear with yourself. Now, when we talk about political prisoners, we have sympathy for all prisoners who are incarcerated, because we understand the systemic issue, we understand the tactics and the strategies of our oppressor. But when we talk about political prisoners, we're separating them from regular prisoners, because prior to their incarceration, they were involved in political change. They were involved in actually doing the organizing, doing the carrying out of daily duties, like Brother Kamal Siddiqui with the Black Panther Party, and then later on with the Black Liberation Army. They were responsible for their people moving forward. They took a definitive position. And so that's why we separate them from regular prisoners, because, well, from other prisoners, they all prisoners, right? So we separate them from prisoners because we want people to understand that this is a design. This is a deliberate tactic by the oppressor. As we understand COINTELPRO, counterintelligence program, spearheaded by J. Edgar Hoover, we understand that that was to combat any organization that was going to present an idea, a concept. In their own words, they would say the rise of a Black Messiah. So they wanted to attack that. And so we understand that this is a deliberate tactic. It happened then. They got caught back then. And, they disclosed some of the information. There's a campaign working on to get all that information out, because we know that if we get all that information out, we can use it to bring our political prisoners home, our freedom fighters home, and our liberators home. And that's why it's important that we study, we pay attention to what's going on, and we write our political prisoners, and we do our part. Somebody somewhere can do something, and anything that you do can really help us and take this work a longer way. So if you're in Queensbridge, you see me, take a few minutes to talk to me. If you happen to be in Brooklyn, you see my brother, he got the oils. Talk to him, ask him about what you can do, and he'll talk to you, and you exchange contacts, and we'll keep you posted about what we're doing next. There's more work to be done. We're doing our part here. We ask that you stay tuned, continue to pass this on. We're coming to a close with this episode. I think everything was stated rather. And but my brother Abdul Haqq, he got some more words to say before we sign off.
Yeah, brother and sister, I was talking so fast. It was something I wanted to mention. Historically, there are struggles that Muslims is involved in against the colonizer, and you can research these studies. Look up the history of the struggle of the Palestinian people. Look up N.E.P.P.C. I'll spell it A-N-N-A-K-B-A-H. That is the history of 1947, how the Israelis, you understand, the atrocities and the murders they committed stealing land in Palestine, and the Palestinians have been rumbling ever since. So look that up. Also, the Islamic Revolution in Iran. Now, I don't get into this Shiite Sunni beef, you understand? I don't get into that beef because we got too much beef with the enemy. You understand?
That's
but
a distraction,
that is
right?
Another example of religion, you understand, overthrowing and conquering a system that had been in power for 2,000 years. You understand? An empire of oppressors that have been in power for 2,000 years. You understand? Raised up the revolutionary spirit of the people and the military, you understand, and ran these punks out of Dodge. You know, look up the battle of look up Sudan, the Islamic uprising in Sudan. You know, look that up. You know, and the brother I mentioned earlier, look his stuff up. He is available to lecture. So any of you Muslims, you have Muslim communities, the brother I mentioned, Dr. Rudolph Bilal Ware, is available to lecture people on the revolutionary history of Muslims. Me myself, when I first came into Islam, I came with a very revolutionary imam Dawood Abdul Malik in Cleveland, Ohio, a revolutionary brother, you know, and he believed in the revolution of black Muslims in Africa and had knowledge of that history, you know. So to come at the propaganda from the reactionary white folks and the reactionary black folks that lie about Islam, talk about Islam is about slavery, Islam is about oppression and all that stuff, you know, to come at that, you know, it'd be good to bring this brother into our midst, you know, to lecture, you know, on this true history, this detailed, very, very detailed history and knowledge that he has, you understand, and knowledge of the scholars and the intellectuals, you understand, and the activists who engage, you know, in these type of struggles. So I'll repeat one more time. Dr. Rudolph Bilal Ware, look him up, you know, and Muslims and non-Muslims, you know, invite the brother to come into your midst to give lectures, you understand, and we're gonna continue this struggle, you know, and we're gonna win.
And you know how we do every time you tune in, we always close out with our brother Big Mike. I mean Killer Mike, excuse me, Killer Mike. We want you to please share with 10 people and do your part. And we'll see you next Wednesday. What's the call?
Free 'em all.
What's the call?
Free 'em all.
I did Miss Kathy Hughes of Radio 1. She's like, Michael, it is time that you guys organize a fund to set aside to help people who sacrifice for our freedom. Meaning, every time something happens, I hear this. Why don't the gangbangers do something? Why don't you kill them? You kill each other. And I say to myself, when is the last time you sent money to Assata Shakur? When is the last time you sent money to Matulu Shakur? When is the last time you sent money to Mumia Abu Jamal or Larry Hoover or Jeff Ford or Leonard Peltier? When is the last time you have made it your business to send money to a revolutionary or a hoodlum that has helped us? And until we start to do that, how can we ask these young men to be warriors? Because if they do it in the name of the hood, at least the hood gonna honor their name always. At least the hood gonna make sure at least their children got something or their mama's house is looked after as a community. If we're going to ask people to bungee jump for us with no cord, be prepared to take care of them when they get a life sentence. Be prepared to look after their families. See, I don't mind. Let's stop asking more out of people than we would do for ourselves. So what I'd like to see, my dream thing, is to see 1 million people from the culture dedicate $10 a month. That's $10 million a month, $120 million a year toward taking care of civil rights leaders who have worked on our behalf and are elderly now and don't have to take care of themselves, like Rosa Parks, whose rent was paid by the owner of Little Caesars Pizza. We should have had a fund to make sure that she never had to worry about that again in her life. We should have a fund that makes sure money makes it to Assata Shakur, and Matulu Shakur has legal representation and food, and Leonard Peltier, who has diabetes in jail, can get insulin and taken care of. And until we start doing it, $10 a month is about what you pay on a couple fast food restaurant visits. So if 1 million of us do that for the rest of our life, look at how well we'll be taking care of the people that we're asking to sacrifice on our behalf.
I agree. And recently,
Just before we sign off, we just want to give you a contact information for those who are tuning in for the first time. You know, the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition has been founded in 2015. It has done some very important, powerful work. It's been responsible by participating in the freedom of some of our political prisoners. You know, Jalil Abdul King, Russell Maroon Schultz, and some others. And we are proud to be a part of that particular work. And we ask that you do your part by sharing this episode. Help us bring more political prisoners home. There's always something that you can do, because everybody can do something from wherever they're at. And let us never forget the sacrifice of our political prisoners.